In the shadow of Tordesillas Castle's stone walls, a woman fought against the darkness closing in around her. Her fists, once adorned with royal rings, pounded futilely against the fresh mortar sealing the only window of her prison. Each brick stole more light, more air, more hope. Juana of Castile, the rightful queen of a nascent empire, was being walled up alive in her own palace. Condemned to vanish from the world's memory, outside her son, Emperor Charles V, coldly awaited the Mason's final report. An act of unthinkable cruelty against his own mother. Why would a son inflict such a fate on the woman who gave him life? Was it madness, as history so long claimed? Or a conspiracy woven by men terrified of a woman too powerful? To unravel this tragedy, we must journey back to the roots of a life marked by grandeur and heartbreak, in a Europe where being born a woman, even a princess, was a curse in disguise. Juana was born in November 1479 in Toledo, at the heart of a transforming Spain. The third child of the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. She grew up in the splendor of a court where ambition and faith intertwined. Her parents, architects of an empire, unified Spain, expelled the Moors from Granada, funded Christopher Columbus's voyages, laying the foundations for global dominance. Raised among scholars, Juana mastered Latin and French at an age when others barely learned to read. Her sharp mind, fiery temperament, and bold questions about religion unsettled her devout mother, Isabella. In a Spain where the Inquisition hunted heresy, Juana's philosophical doubts were perilous. She speaks too freely of matters that should go unquestioned. A courtier noted in a secret report, casting the first shadows over her fate. At 16, Juana became a pawn in Europe's alliance games. Betrothed to Philip the Handsome, heir to Flanders and Burgundy, she crossed the seas for an arranged marriage. Their meeting in 1496 was a lightning strike that defied decorum. Philip, with his golden hair and chivalric charm, captivated Juana, whose dark eyes and olive skin enthralled him in turn. Chroniclers, scandalized, recounted how they refused to wait for the formal banquet, locking themselves in their chambers for 2 days to consummate their union. But this blazing passion hid a brewing storm. Philip, manipulative and unfaithful, quickly grasped the hold he had over Juana. He alternated gestures of affection with public betrayals, taking mistresses under the Flemish court's gaze. Juana, unable to mask her pain, erupted in fits of jealousy, behavior tolerated in kings but deemed outrageous for a princess. Between 1498 and 1506, Juana bore 6 children, including Charles, the future emperor, and Ferdinand, his successor. But the cold alien Flemish court isolated her. Repeated pregnancies and Philip's infidelities plunged Juana into waves of melancholy. Then fate struck. Between 1497 and 1500, death claimed her brother Juan, her sister Isabel, and Isabel's heir Miguel, making Juana the third daughter, the unexpected heiress to the kingdoms of Castile and Aragon. This upheaval changed everything. Philip, who once saw her as a mere link to Spain, realized she was now queen in her own right. A vague clause in Isabella's will, upon her death in 1504, stated that Ferdinand would act as regent if Juana was unable to rule. That single word became the weapon of a budding conspiracy. In 1506, Juana and Philip arrived in Spain to claim the Castilian throne. A storm nearly sank their ship at sea, but Juana, tying her titles and gold to her waist, declared with icy calm, "If I die, let them know I was queen." This composure belied the rumors of madness already spreading. Philip determined to rule alone, allied with Castilian nobles against Ferdinand. The latter, cunning, yielded temporarily, allowing Philip and Juana to be proclaimed joint monarchs. But Philip isolated Juana, amplifying tales of her instability. Every tear, every outburst, was twisted into proof of unbalance. Then, in September 1506, Philip collapsed after a game of real tennis, struck by a sudden fever. He died at 28, perhaps of typhoid, perhaps poisoned. Juana's grief was immense. Official accounts, inflated by her enemies, claim she refused to bury her husband, traveling with his coffin across Castile, opening it to kiss his feet. In truth, Documents show she ordered his body embalmed for transfer to Granada, a common practice. But these stories, true or false, served a purpose: to discredit Juana. Ferdinand, returning to Castile, proclaimed himself regent and confined his daughter in 1509 to the convent of Santa Clara in Tordesillas. Thus began a captivity that would span nearly 5 decades. At first, Juana retained a semblance of freedom, receiving select visitors. But when Ferdinand died in 1516, her son Charles, then 16, seized power. During a visit to Tordesillas in 1517, he found a lucid mother, articulating her rights to the throne with clarity. Refusing to abdicate, she sealed her symbolic death sentence. Charles, ambitious and soon Holy Roman Emperor, could not tolerate a legitimate queen. He replaced her servants with brutal guards led by the cruel Marquise of Denia. Denia's letters to Charles reveal systematic psychological torture, sleep deprivation, denial of sacraments, constant humiliation. Every protest from Juana was reported as a fit of madness, every silence as morbid melancholy. In 1525, after an alleged escape attempt, Charles ordered the unthinkable. Juana's windows were bricked up, leaving only a tiny slit. A secret door, controlled by Denia, became her sole link to the world. The queen was buried alive. While Charles built an empire where the sun never set, Juana survived in darkness. Denia's reports depict a woman broken by hunger and abuse, yet flashes of resistance endured. In 1539, Francis Borgia, a Jesuit sent by Charles, found a skeletal prisoner still lucid. They discussed theology for hours, and Borgia, horrified, wrote in his private journal, "Her eyes burn with unbroken intelligence." Defying orders, he offered her communion, a rare act of compassion in her captivity. But nothing changed. The years dragged on, and Juana's body crumbled. Her hair whitened, her teeth fell out, her frame bent under malnutrition and isolation. In 1555, Charles abdicated, passing the throne to his son Philip II. Juana, unaware of the change, remained a prisoner. Philip, believing tales of her madness, slightly eased her conditions, but too late. On April 11, 1555, Juana died at 75, after 46 years of captivity. Her body was moved to Granada, beside Philip, her husband, and her parents. Official history painted her as Juana the Mad, an unstable queen, broken by obsessive love. But modern historians reveal a darker truth. Juana, victim of a patriarchal conspiracy, was stripped of her throne by her husband, her father, and her son, all unable to accept a woman in power. Her alleged madness, likely depression triggered by betrayals and abuse, was a lie crafted to silence her. Tordesillas' walls have fallen, but slanders imprisoned her memory for centuries. Today, revisiting her story, we grant justice to a queen whose voice, stifled by stone and lies, finally echoes. Juana of Castile was not mad. She was a woman, a queen, too strong for a world that could not bear her.